Well, hello there. My name is Dr. James.
Hello there, I'm Dr. Deborah.
And we are so excited to share a very special Love and Life Elevated. It's funny, when Deb and I thought about doing something on Valentine's Day, of course we could do something that's, really cliche about the power of love, maybe talk about hormones like oxytocin.
Oh, yeah.
All that'd be really awesome, and we'll probably integrate some of that. But we also wanted to talk about what we've learned over our nearly 33 years together. And before we jump in, I want to share something that I read a couple of weeks ago, and I love this. Nietzsche, the philosopher, once said, if you want to see a relationship that's going to be love lasting a lifetime, make sure you find someone who you can have a lifelong conversation with. A lifelong conversation with. And that really made me think a lot about what we've done over these last 33 years, that we've had a conversation about all the things that we feel really excited about and the ebbs and flows of growing together spiritually, physically, growing family together. It's a conversation of growth and evolving. And the beautiful thing about it, it's still interesting to us. And I say that hopefully the way that you feel about what it is to be together in this conversation together.
I think it's cool, and it's a loaded quote because sometimes you might say, hey, we need to have a conversation. And it may be like, I'm done.
I don't want to talk anymore.
I'm done talking. We tried this. But I do get what you're saying. And where I thought you were going with it is a kind conversation, a conversation that leads with kindness, that we treat it, even the difficult conversations come from a place of depth and kindness and love, even when it's a difficult conversation.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And I don't know what Nietzsche was absolutely thinking when he said that. Where it brought for me was this whole idea of the things I've learned being with you. And one of the things that I've been kind of reflecting back on over these number of years, and when Deb and I talk to other couples or when we're teaching together, we often refer to someone, John Gottman, who is an expert on relationships and knows how to predict with like a 90% efficacy which relationships are going to last and which ones won't. And one of the things he talks about is this idea of turning towards someone. Mm-hmm. And that's the first thing I thought about when I thought of this conversation. In order to have a conversation, you have to turn towards that person. Mm-hmm. You have to be engaged with them. And Gottman would talk about how he would see a couple sitting together, and when they're going through a conflict or doing anything together, if their body language and their bodies literally turn away from one another, he said that is a big telltale sign that this relationship most likely is not going to last. And it sounds really simple, but that whole idea of turning towards, especially when you're going through something hard, creates a level of vulnerability and trust that really does allow for a relationship to continue and the conversation to get deeper and more trusting as you go.
And along with the conversation, I believe that intimacy is such an important piece to this, and how it shows up in relationship can be in many different ways. And when you were talking about this, I was thinking about the many times that I've kind of turned away, not just like in conversation, but in intimacy. And specifically, this is kind of going to be a shout out because 29 years ago, Valentine's Day, our first daughter was born. So beautiful young lady turning 29. Happy birthday.
Love you, Cody.
Dakota Rouse. And I was a monster during labor. And we're just like, that is such an intimate time. And when you were like wanting to get close.
Cool. Can we talk about the fact that we had pre-gamed?
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, at that point, I had helped deliver like 40 babies. So I knew this childbirth and labor and delivery thing. And I'm a little lukewarm on birth plans. I think they're awesome to have, but all bets are off once that labor really kicks in. And you are doing everything right. And I was instructed. Yeah, well, as the plan would say, as we rehearsed, and I was like, "Don't touch me! Turn off the music!" I couldn't in that moment turn toward you, and given that that's extenuating circumstance, I think it's still important to talk about, because if I would have pre-gamed to turn towards you, or even just having a kind conversation like, because it was your labor as much as it was mine, just in a different form. And it was hard. because I wasn't nice in that moment, and everybody reacts differently in labor and delivery. But it continued at different points in relationship, like when I would hurt myself doing whatever, I fell, and you would rush to my side, and I was like, hands off, don't, and that was. I'm not saying that's wrong or it's bad, but I knew that was work for me that I wanted to work on, so that I'm not turning away in that time where the relationship can really grow. That was an opportunity for growth when I was like, I need, to not face this right now.
I feel, number one, I so appreciate that level of vulnerability and honesty. And I think that for all of us who are in a relationship, been in a relationship, or a relationship that didn't work out, failed at some degree, that is a big thing for a lot of people right now. I think a lot of us are trying to figure out whether it's an intimate relationship with your partner, your person, or it's with a child, it's someone in your family. There's so many times in life right now I find myself continually wondering, am I turning towards or am I turning away? There's a lot of difficult conversations that are happening all over the world, and certainly in the United States. There's a lot of challenges around politics, deep, hard challenges and conversations that a lot of people aren't having because it's too much, and we constantly are turning away from one another. And I think there's also something, as you were saying that, sweetheart, it made me think about when we first got together and how I almost didn't even have the ability or didn't even have the tools to turn towards myself when I knew I was going through a hard conversation with myself, which was, how honest can I be? How vulnerable can I be? How much can I really truly ask you for what I really need to feel safe? Because I think one of the things that I brought into this relationship, and I don't think about it, I know I brought in a lot of baggage around psychological safety and feeling the worthiness of being loved and the worthiness of asking for what I wanted. And I think when I joined this relationship and you and I came together, I wanted to think I could show up as the knight in shining armor and have my shit together and all those things. And I didn't. And rather than having that conversation with myself about saying, can I be honest? Can I ask for what I want? Can I risk being rejected? All of those things, which eventually we've learned, and I've learned, not only can I ask for those things, I want to ask you for those things so I can invite you in and turn towards you even that much deeper. And I feel these are all evolutionary experiences that I'm sure many of you have had over your lifetime. And the beauty is that if you have a good conversation going, like a metaphor, the conversation, someone you can be with and turn towards, you get a chance to have all these different evolutions within yourself that invites in that much more love and intimacy and trust. And it's such a beautiful place to do the greatest work of your life. And doing all the, I'm going to call it the pregame work, because I think one of the things that we've learned is you have to do a lot of this self-nurturing on your own, whether it's, get up in the morning and meditating, putting good food in your body, making sure you take time to breathe and really connect with your source, with God, the universe. So when it comes time to be in relationship, your foundation is good and strong versus coming in needy and, oh my goodness, I need you to fix and heal me because I haven't done my own work.
Well, so there were so many things that you just brought up, and I want to go back to when we were first coming together, because this was the early 90s, and we were reading all the books, Codependent No More, Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life. So we were like,
we had the spiritual bookshelf.
We were just in, no, I would say before we even came together, we were working on our personal development and our spiritual growth and all of those things. And so we think we're coming into this relationship whole, which is obviously ideal. It's cliche to say two halves don't make a whole, or you complete me. No, you need to be complete heading in. However, we both came in, like you said, knight in shining armor, and I came in mother. So we're both these caretakers, like, you're rescuing me, I don't need rescuing, I'm going to take care of you. And so that was totally clashing, even though we knew. We just read Codependent No More, and You Can Heal Your Life.
We could quote it while we were in it.
And we were grooving on the fact that we both use that languaging, and we were on the same spiritual path, but yet doing that work and having the conversations like up front, we were so in la la land with newly being in love, that like we didn't want to have the tougher conversations. We would get defensive, put up a wall. So it's not like this is something that happens so easily overnight. We're all works in progress, and it takes the recognition and the awareness to do the work. And as James just said, and as we just had a really powerful conversation for our next podcast that you'll get to hear, reverting to stillness is really where it's at. Stillness inside, connecting with yourself, realizing that, you are loved right where you are, right how you are. And I don't need James to, remind me every day, because I want to remind myself every day that I hold that, like, just who I am, not because I'm your wife, not because I'm Dakota Nelly's mom or I'm a naturopathic doctor, just because I exist in this skin right now.
Yeah. It's so important. And it made me think a lot about the times that we're living in. So if you're in an intimate relationship, or you're just in a relationship with yourself, how important it is to regulate right now, so you can be with yourself.
Yeah.
I call it more and more strategic solitude. Every single morning I have 15, 20 minutes where I absolutely strategically create solitude in my life, a combination of spiritual reading, breathing practice, meditation, those things all integrated before I move into the world. And it's also very helpful because it helped me to regulate when Deb comes in to my morning, because I'm getting up earlier. And when Deb comes into my world, I want to be a great husband. I want to be a great best friend. And I also want to be a great person for myself, so I can be present for all the things that can happen under the influence of love and intimacy and relationship. Because, life is up for grabs right now. And we know that so much about presence, being present, and really heroically standing in the hard places as much as the beautiful, loving places, is the great work of life. And I really want to encourage you to think about what it is that you do in your life right now to really strategically create solitude where you can regulate, because a regulated person helps to regulate others. And when we're co-regulating and we're in co-coherence, we get a chance to really have a lot of magic and mystical opportunities to really curate what it's like to be in partnership. But also when you step out in the world, maybe away from your person or from yourself and out into the world, it's really important to look at how it is that you are regulating throughout your day, so relationships can continually be fostered and elevated through the way that you are present. That's real work right now, and it's heroic work, but it's some of the most beautiful work you get a chance to do while we're here.
And right now, I feel like I've been experiencing this collective heartbreak and this collective trauma. And what I'm gaining right now, even with this conversation, is how do we turn that into collective peace? Because I believe what we focus on grows, right? That's what we attract. I'm a law of attraction student from the get-go. And so the more I focus on collective trauma, collective heartache, the deeper I feel that. And I don't really want to embody that. I want to try to embody the solution. And so what you're saying, and I love that, is not just getting regulation, of course, but like in that self-regulating, how do you call in that inner peace? Because the only way we're going to, peace, we're not going to find it out there. We're only going to find it in here. And the only way that we do find it out here is when we, as a group, find it within ourselves first. Yeah. So it's very similar to what you're saying, but that's sort of how I'm picturing it. And like, I want to stop focusing on like, oh, that's heartbreaking. That's just so traumatizing and so stressful. Like, it is. That's the reality of the world right now. But also like, well, what's my role? How can I better, not just my own physiology, but how can I make a better impact on the world around me?
So true. And I think as we look at what Valentine's Day is sort of offering up for us, and I often use this in my life, and Sweetheart, we do it together, is asking that question, what would love do right now? That is the question. You can look around the world and have all types of reinforcements for the trauma, for the heartbreak, for the disconnect. And you can build a narrative to say, well, it's all these things, therefore I am. Or we can say it's all these things, therefore I'm going to be different. Therefore, I want to heal. Therefore, I want to be heroic in how I love. And so what would love do right now? And I think it's a question that's obviously very personal, but I think it begins with really, how do you look at building your campaign for love of yourself? You know, your campaign, how do you build oxytocin? What kind of foods are you choosing? Are you moving your body? Are you breathing with your diaphragm? Are you making eye contact first thing in the morning when you turn the light on to brush your teeth? All these little micro practices is where love gets a chance to take hold. And if we do enough of these throughout the day, love stays with us. And I think that's the real challenge right now, because all the inputs, not all of them, but the vast majority that are happening in media and social media and the world around us are giving us a lot of the opposite of love. And the more that we allow that in is the more that's going to become us. So you got to live inside out versus outside in, and really, really give that as your primary practice, because love is the most important thing. In my humble opinion, there is nothing more powerful, there's nothing more important, there is nothing more transformational than love. And it begins love of self. And if you're really good at it, you're going to watch how that can transform and give you permission to step into other relationships and finding your person or finding your community. That is what love does best. It gives you permission to upregulate how it is that you invite more and more love in and become a belonging participant in what love does.
Yeah, that was so good. And you were bringing up Valentine's Day again, and love and oxytocin. We can talk more about how we build oxytocin, but of course, it's Valentine's Day, and we always use the symbol of hearts everywhere. And so, of course, I'm thinking about the heart, and I'm thinking about the heart in relationship to the stress, the trauma, oxytocin, mitochondria, which we love talking about, and how do you think mitochondria, which are the energy producing aspects of the cell within the heart muscle, within every cell of the body, but how does love feed mitochondria?
Oh my gosh, directly.
Yeah.
Because the more that we use languaging of ourselves, self-acceptance, the more that we fortify our body with healthy food, the more that we use exercise as our sort of courageous call to physiological action, mitochondria is the energy of how we sustain that belief, that faith, that love, that courage, right? Courage, core, heart, 4 chambers versus 2 chambers. Mitochondria is such a big player right now because so many people are saying, gosh, I don't have the energy to love.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
I'm exhausted.
Exhausted.
I'm trying to figure out, how do I resource love? Well, it's going to start with the fundamental building blocks of things like mitochondria. It's going to talk about how you regulate yourself. It's going to give yourself an opportunity to do a check-in and say, where does love get a chance to begin within me through how I'm caring for myself? And as I build that, I start to build the faith that I can go out in the world and be just that.
Totally. And don't forget magnesium.
Oh, right. Let's, for a moment, because when you look at magnesium deficiency and its relationship to being dysregulated and not being your best.
Stress, heart health, cardiovascular.
All the things, right? So these are all, and hey, look, dark chocolate. Come on. And it is also part of today, right? Chocolate, and get a little bit more on the darker side, 75, 85%, little magnesium hit there. These are all good things.
Yeah. So that's really what we wanted to share with you today. Just this is a time of connection, and it's a time to start with love of self so that you have that energy to spread love all around you. And we love you.
Can I just say something really beautiful, maybe corny? I just had this beautiful thing happen. When Deb and I got married, this is our position. She was on to the right of me. And you were just saying that, and I thought to myself, did I ever imagine 33-ish years ago, as we were standing in a field in Oregon in our hippie barefoot wedding, that I would be 33 years later watching you just...
Of course you imagined. I hope you did.
I hope I did too, but I just feel like I'm just so crazy about you still, and I love you, and I just feel like so lucky. And at the same time, I feel super responsible that I do not let what we have ever become any less, but always continues to be more.
Yes.
So thank you, honey.
You're welcome. Thank you. You're very, very good at keeping that rolling always, all day, every day.
So I'm all misty. I'm really feeling it right now. So hey, listen, happy Valentine's Day. What does love do? It does you. And it does us, and it continues to do all of us very, very well. Give yourself to it. Practice it. Love it. Bring it to life.
Take a breath. Ask yourself, what would love do now, before you might take an action that isn't resonating who you really are. Ask yourself that first. What would love do now? And share that with us. What you learned from that, and how you caught yourself before you went to a place that was your lesser self.
Yeah, less than love.
Yeah.
Happy Valentine's Day. We love you. I love you.
I love you.
Have a beautiful day. Bye
Peace
for
out.
now.